Chapter 1. Belle stood in front of the doors to the library holding a mop in one hand, a bucket in the other, and wearing a wide, excited grin. Arrayed on the floor around her were several objects, a gleaming golden candelabrum in shape of a man, a stocky bronze mantel clock, a squat porcelain teapot, a little teacup with chin in its rim, a feather duster with a peacock-shaped handle, and a four-legged fringed footstool. "My darling girl, you're holding that mop as if you were a sword," he teased. "You look like you're going into a battle." He had flaming candles instead of hands, and he flourished one dramatically now, as if challenging Belle to a duel. "I'm going into a battle, Lumiere, and so are you. You have no idea what's waiting behind those doors," Belle said, laughing. Lumiere grimaced. "Actually, I do," he said. "The master has many admirable qualities, but tidiness is not one of them." "Stuff and nonsense," declared the mantel clock, pushing his way past them. "Are you fighting? Or forgetting that I rule with the command at the siege of Yorktown?" Lumiere rolled his eye. "Not for a second, ma mammy," he said. "We drowned the redcoats and sent them packing. This old soldiers is more than a match for a couple of cobwebs," Cogsworth declared. He gave the massive door a push. They swung open, hinges groaning. As they did, Cogsworth, still blustering, felt silent. He took a few steps into a carver's room. The other servants joined him. Everyone stared in horror at the scene before them. Everyone but Belle. Chapter 2. With a cry of delight, Belle ran into the center of the room, put her mop and bucket down, and turned around in a wide circle, her face full of wonder. It seemed to her that every book ever written was here. There were novels and plays, love poems, legends and folk tales, volumes of philosophy, history, science, mathematics. Earlier that morning, when she'd first opened her eye, she was afraid that she'd only dreamed the library at the treasures it contained. But no, it was real. It was here. She was here. Oh my goodness," the teapot said, her voice faltering. "I know, Miss Potts, isn't it amazing?" Belle exclaimed. "Mon Dieu," said the feather duster, her tone dire. "I've never seen such a wonderful, incredible, astonishing place," Belle finished. "I agree, Clement. Books were Belle's favorite things in the world. She devoured them. Her village had a library, technically, but really it was just a shelf in Pierre Roberts' church. She'd read every book on it twice, but this library had so many books she could never read them all, not if she lived to be 1,000. As she continued to look around, her eyes fell on the library's grand marble fireplace. She imagined herself sitting by it with a pot of tea and books stacked up all around her. "Where will I start?" she wondered aloud. "With the Greek epics, the classical tragedies, might I suggest the windows?" Lumiere said, hurrying by her with her rag draped over his arms. Belle smiled sheepishly. His words brought her back down to the earth. The windows were tall and graceful, but they were gray with grime. The draperies that framed them were in tatters. Cobwebs hung from the sills. She rolled up her sleeves, picked up her mop and bucket, and started toward them. As she did, the fringed footstool raced past her, stirring up a cloud of dust. The little teacup was riding on its back. "Faster, Fro, faster!" he shouted in his little boy voice. "Chip, that's enough. You're making things worse," Miss Potts scolded. "How on earth does the master work in here?" she added, poking her spot into a corner. A thick layer of dust carpeted much of the library's floor. It coated the large gilt table near the doorway, the chairs, the mantel. Cogsworth ran a finger over a baseboard, inspected it, and paled. "Dust? No one said anything about dust. I have delicate innards," he fretted, patting his casing. "Screws, posts, gears, one little speck in the works, and everything grinds to a halt." Lumiere wrinkled his nose. "That is so much more than we needed to know." "I'll supervise, shall I?" over the Cotsworth. To me, dust is a four-letter word. Dust is a four-letter word to everyone, said Lumiere. Work is also a four-letter word, said Plumety, under her breath. Perhaps that is why monsters strive to avoid it. Cotsworth pulled himself up to his full height, all 12 inches of it. I heard that, he thundered. Plumety shook her feathers and flounced off to clean a chair. Lumiere put an arm around the fuming Cotsworth. Old friend, I know the library's in the terrible state, and I know the task ahead seems impossible, but all we need to know is begin. The rest will take care of itself. A journey of 1,000 miles started with a single step. Quite right, Cotsworth declared, barreling for the door. I say we journey back to the kitchen, find a nice cozy seat by the fire, and rethink the whole business. But Lumiere intercepted him. He hooked his arm through Cotsworth and turned him around. Belle can't do this alone. She needs our help, he said. The library makes her happy, and we want her to be happy. Cotsworth signed. My springs will never be the same. Belle, overhearing their exchange, felt a stab of guilt. The servants had volunteered to help her at breakfast, but they hadn't known what they were getting into. While the library hadn't fallen to the same level of disrepair as the rest of the castle, it was still in need of a deep cleaning, one that Cotsworth didn't seem to be up to. His gears often got stuck, and he frequently threw out his pendulum. Worried Belle hurried over to the two servants and knelt down. Lumiere Cotsworth, she said anxiously. I can manage my own. You know other things too, Cotsworth, who was already launching into another round of creeping, had the good grace to look abashed. He quickly tried to make amends. Will it make you happy, my dear? He asked, having the use of this place. Belle nodded. Very, she said. As happy as you were in your village? He asked hopefully. My village? Belle echoed, flustered by the question. She sat down on the floor. Well, I didn't mean I wasn't. How could she tell them the truth? It was hard enough to admit it to herself. What's the matter, child? Cotsworth asked. Miss Potts heard him. Is something wrong? She asked, hurrying over. Plumety followed, her feathers rustling. Even Chip and Fro stopped what they were doing and drew close to Belle. Belle thought about making up an innocent vibe or laughing, brushing aside the concern, but when she saw the worrying eyes of them, genuine and deep, she knew she could do neither. The truth is, I wasn't happy in my village, she explained. Not really, I was happy in my house, of course, but with my father. But that was the only place I felt I belonged, there and in the pages of the book I wrote. Why, Belle? Miss Potts asked. Belle took a deep breath. It was a small place, and the people, well, many of them had small hopes and small dreams. It was hard to find a friend there. There were a few people who understood me. My father did, of course, and Pierre Robert, the clingy man with all the books, and Agatha, a beggar woman. Everyone else thought I was odd, she admitted, blushing a little. You are odd, Belle, Chip piped up, but we don't mind. Everyone laughed, even Belle. Only Miss Potts didn't. Instead, she raised a painted eyebrow. But Mama, she is, Chip insisted. She wears boots with a dress and reads Latin and rides her horse like a bandit. Chip, Miss Potts cautioned. It's not a bad thing, Mama. We're not exactly normal, you know what I mean. I'm a talking teacup. A wisp of steam rose from Miss Potts' spot. It's all right, Miss Potts, Belle said. I suppose to be people of felon. I was odd because I wanted to leave. I wanted to travel and see something of the world. She smiled ruefully, and because I liked the books more than I liked Gaston.